All right, I'm recording this video on Friday afternoon, and over the last 48 hours or so, this Jussie Smollett fairy tale about being attacked by Trump henchmen in polar vortex Chicago has gone from theoretical BS to almost certainly provable BS. Stand by for more information. There might actually be more conclusive details available by the time I post this video on Saturday morning. But as of now, two Nigerian brothers, who we now know as friends of Smollett and colleagues on his Empire show, have been identified by police, and they had their home raided and have since been arrested on reported battery charges. Although the charges are as reported by TMZ, and I should note they've bungled this story from the start. The list of evidence recovered from their home looks like it has direct connection to the case: a red hat, bleach, a magazine, and stamps. One would speculate those are in connection to the supposed threatening letters Smollett received in the mail prior to the attack. So the possibilities we're left with are something between an outright hoax or maybe some sort of personal fight between Smollett and these two guys, later framed as a political issue as some sort of cover. It's not entirely clear as of this recording, and there are some conflicting reports about Smollett's potential involvement. Some reports say that Smollett himself is under investigation for staging the attack, though the police have refused to confirm that as of now. But whatever's going on, what happened that night is absolutely not the story that we've been sold since the end of January. What a twist. It was a Nigerian scam all along. I wonder if these guys took a break from emailing you about some long-lost fortune in your inheritance. And in incredibly unfortunate timing, this rapid development in the story comes immediately after Smollett gave his first interview since the incident, appearing on Good Morning America to lecture all of us who had any questions or doubts about his story, because this whole time he's been after the truth and nothing but.
I'm pissed off.
Is it the attackers?
It's the attackers, but it's also the attacks. You know, at first it was a thing of like, listen, if I tell the truth, then that's it, because it's the truth. Then it became a thing of like, oh, how can you doubt that? Like, how do you not believe that? It's the truth. And then it became a thing of like, oh, it's not necessarily that you don't believe that this is the truth. You don't even want to see the truth. I think that what people need to hear is just the truth.
Reading between the lines, it seems like at the time of the interview, Smollett was not aware that police had identified those two figures in that grainy surveillance footage, and maybe he assumed they never actually would, because those two guys debunk his entire story on the spot. The problem with his declared loyalty to the truth is that it hasn't been upheld by his words or actions throughout the development of this story, and even within this interview specifically. This guy is no friend of the truth. On several instances, he's made inconsistent claims about what happened. He's put up obstacles in the investigation to find that truth, and he's shamed everyone who has questions about his story, even though they're searching for the exact same truth that he supposedly is. Let's check out his inconsistent claims first, because this interview is yet another example of Smollett changing his story. He now says that his attackers approached him individually, that a single masked attacker yelled at him and then punched him before a second attacker came and started kicking him.
And I see the attacker masked, and he said, "This MAGA country," punches me right in the face. So I punched his ass back, and we ended up tussling by the stairs, fighting. There was a second person involved who was kicking me in my back.
In the police report, Smollett told the police that two people approached and shouted at him together. In the interview, Smollett now says the infamous MAGA country line was yelled to initiate the fight, but in the original TMZ report, this line supposedly happened after the beating. And remember, this claim went from totally absent in the original police report to now central to the story. The same report said the attackers were white. We now know that's not true. The same report said Smollett was badly beaten and fractured a rib in the incident. Another inconsistency in the story, he now clarifies.
It was reported that I had like fractured ribs or cracked ribs or something like that. That wasn't true. I was just in a lot of pain.
In fairness to Smollett, that TMZ report was based on sources close to him and not Smollett himself. But even if I want to be charitable and say these inconsistencies aren't Smollett's fault, why isn't his first step to clarify them in pursuit of that truth with which he prefaces this interview? And regardless, it's not as though Smollett himself has been entirely consistent either. Even within the confines of just this interview, he makes conflicting statements. On the one hand, he says the whole attack was so quick and disorienting, and the attackers were so covered up that he can't really give a good description of them.
I gave a body description, and because I saw this, right here or whatever, but I can't tell you what color their eyes were. I can't tell you, and I did not see anything except the second person I saw running away. And the first person, I saw his stature. I gave the description as best as I could. You have to understand also that it's Chicago in winter. People can wear ski masks and nobody's going to question that.
But on the other hand, as soon as he saw the surveillance footage, he knew without a doubt that those were the attackers.
I don't have any doubt in my mind that that's them. Never did.
Okay, so we go from lots of doubt to no doubt, all based on stature alone, which previously was insufficient to give a good description to police. If you can't describe them, how are you identifying them confidently? If this image alone gives you confidence, then ambiguously human-shaped silhouettes would have been the conclusive, definitive description to give to police. Smollett's additional antagonism with the truth has been non-cooperation with police investigation. Since Smollett says he was on the phone with his manager immediately prior to the attack and the call maintained throughout the attack, phone records would be helpful for that investigation. Instead, he's refused to submit them voluntarily, giving police a spreadsheet in which he deleted certain phone calls. Since Smollett is friendly with these two attackers, one might wonder what phone numbers were deleted, but data from local cell towers will reveal that information. Smollett addressed this lack of cooperation in the interview.
Which they didn't originally ask for my phone records. They asked for my phone. They wanted me to give my phone to the tech for 3 to 4 hours. I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna do that.
Why?
Because I have private pictures and videos and numbers, my private emails, my private songs, my private voice memos. I don't know what that's going to be to hand over my phone.
Just to clarify, you gave them neither your phone nor your phone records, at least in full. And I get it, I probably wouldn't want to hand over all of my phone data to police either, but if I was in this situation, I would make a backup of my phone on my computer and then ask police what information is relevant to their investigation and then hand over just that information. It's not all information or no information. Besides, simple records of who you called and when don't really reveal private information. There are no nudes to be recovered there, just information on the timeline of how this case developed. The last piece of Smollett's bunk commitment to the truth is the way he shames all of us who have been asking questions about this story all along.
It feels like if I had said it was a Muslim or a Mexican or someone black, I feel like the doubters would have supported me a lot more. And that says a lot about the place that we are in our country right now. The fact that we have these fear mongrels.
Fear mongrels. As opposed to what? Fear purebreds? And speaking of purebred, this story was never about race, but for your injection of it. You say we'd believe you automatically if you blamed black people, yet this attack was actually committed by black people, and we still don't believe you at face value. So there goes your narrative on two fronts. I want the truth regardless of who's implicated or exonerated, your team or my team, your race or my race, and you implicitly calling me a racist has zero bearing on the truth of what actually happened that night. Smollett is not and has never been committed to the truth in this story. Throughout the interview, he persistently emphasizes the supposed lessons of the story, not the matters of fact. It's about power for gay and black kids.
I just want young people, young members of the LGBTQ community, young black children to know how strong that they are, to know the power that they hold in their little pinky. And I want a little gay boy who might watch this to see that I fought back.
It's about fighting for love.
I have fought for love. I'm an advocate.
It's about hating Trump, which of course is the origin of all of this.
I come really, really hard against 45. I come really, really hard against his administration. And I don't hold my tongue. I'm a public figure. I'm very outspoken. Sometimes maybe too outspoken.
Yeah, don't flatter yourself, dude. I had legitimately never heard of you prior to this incident. And if you think you stand out as a Trump-hating celebrity, get in line, sever some heads, or GTFO. In addition to the full extent of the scam and Smollett's potential involvement in perpetuating it, the last questions to answer are about accountability. It's not just for those who potentially misled police or those who perpetuated this massive waste of tax money investigating what was, one way or another, a false story. It's also for our knee-jerk, hot-take, agenda-driven culture. It's for members of Congress falsely incriminating the right wing on generic terms, specifics be damned. It's for celebrities shaming our entire country for bigotry, when this case in fact demonstrates no such issue, stating the red hat is the white hood and if you wear it, you attacked Jussie. It's for journalists who used this story as recently as Thursday, when this whole thing was already falling apart, to advance a narrative about attacks on gay and trans people. Never mind that it's not actually what happened here, and writing articles that say this racist, homophobic attack that was likely none of these things is evidence that whiteness in America has a violent endgame, and this case is one such example. When you actually do prioritize being morally right over being precisely, factually, and semantically correct, this is what you get. One way or another, we have to restore a culture that prioritizes the truth and facts over virtue points and victimization. The good news is that every one of these hoaxes or misrepresentations, from the Covington kids to Jussie Smollett to the next one that assuredly will happen next month, every one of these cases peels off a few more people who can now see this BS for what it is. A few more people who reverse course and say, you know what? I actually do think that the truth is more important than my preconceptions. So it's a self-defeating strategy for these victim hucksters, even if their defeat is taking a little longer than I'd like. Honestly, though, I can't believe anybody bought this story at face value when it was published. Above all the grandiose claims, the dead giveaway was that Smollett didn't even lose his Subway sandwich. You kick a guy's ass, you get to eat his sandwich. That's just the way the world works. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel always. Appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Twitter, that is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to come hang out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.